The war that spanned across the galaxy had devastated thousands of planets, destroyed colonies, and caused countless lives to be lost. The relentless conflict between humanity and an alien race known as the Krag had only grown more brutal over time. Lieutenant Roarke, a human soldier, had been on a mission when his vessel came under heavy fire from the Krag forces. Losing control of his ship, he was hurled straight into enemy territory. Under a relentless barrage, his ship exploded, and he was flung down to the depths of a forest-covered planet. When he opened his eyes, he found himself surrounded by charred trees and a massive crater left by the explosion. Pain racked his body, and every breath felt like a blade stabbing into his lungs. A deep wound on his chest bled freely, and he drifted in and out of consciousness from blood loss. Through the thick smoke, he noticed a figure approaching, a tall Krag woman dressed entirely in white, radiating a faint glow as she moved closer. This figure was none other than Princess Alara of the Krag royal family. On a mission of her own on this planet, she hesitated when she saw the enemy soldier lying injured. Rather than finishing him off, she chose to help him. In Krag culture, respecting warriors was an important value, and Alara admired the fight Roarke had shown to survive. Alara carried Roarke to a safe place, hiding him in a secluded cave deep within the planet, a place known only to Krag nobles. Inside the cave, she found a medicinal herb with natural healing properties. Applying the plant's extracts to Roarke's wounds, she managed to rouse him from unconsciousness. Roarke's gaze locked onto Alara's face. At first, realizing his rescuer was an enemy, he struggled angrily, but his strength was gone. Alara's resolute yet calm demeanor gradually eased his suspicion and replaced it with surprise. At first, they communicated only through gestures and expressions. Alara tried to teach Roarke a few simple words to introduce herself and earn his trust. Though he didn't understand the Krag language, Roarke could tell from her actions and gentle touch that she meant no harm. As days passed, Alara continued to protect and heal Roarke within the cave. Thanks to her unique medicines and herbal remedies, Roarke slowly regained his strength. As he healed day by day, he began to see the warrior spirit and kindness within Alara's heart. One day, however, the sound of Krag soldiers echoed outside the cave. When Alara cautiously looked out, she saw the royal guards sweeping the area. Rushing back inside, she motioned to Roarke to remain silent. The seriousness in her expression told him danger was near. Soon, 3 Krag soldiers appeared at the cave entrance. Alara drew her sword, stepping forward to shield Roarke. Furious that Alara was protecting a human soldier, the guards were determined to stop her. As they closed in, Alara's graceful yet deadly swordplay repelled each assault. Roarke, watching her defense, was stunned by her skill. This woman, seemingly an enemy, was fighting to protect his life. Watching her stand her ground, Roarke felt his blood heat up. Despite his injuries, he gathered himself and stepped outside to join the fight at her side. Alara gave a slight nod, acknowledging his revived strength. Though their combat styles were different, they moved together in perfect harmony. Alara's agility and fluid sword strikes combined with Roarke's powerful blows in a deadly dance. Shocked by this unexpected alliance, the Krag soldiers retreated. When the battle finally ended, Alara and Roarke shared a breath, looking at each other. Roarke placed a hand over his heart and nodded his head, a gesture of gratitude and respect. Alara, noticing his gesture, smiled softly. Fighting side by side had deepened the bond between them. Thanks to Alara, Roarke had survived once again. But this first battle was only the beginning of a series of events that would change not only their lives but the entire galaxy. Over the following weeks, Roarke's wounds fully healed, and he regained his former strength. This strange alliance between a human and a Krag had become a glimmer of hope, not only for their survival but for ending the cycle of hostility that had engulfed the galaxy. Roarke and Alara spent hours learning each other's languages and cultures, questioning the origins of the long-standing hatred between their species and the roots of the war. However, this secret friendship was soon at risk of exposure. One morning, a communication signal from Alara's family filled the cave. The royal family had grown suspicious of Alara's prolonged absence in the area and decided to send a special team to question her. Alara's brows furrowed. The fact that the best soldiers were sent to investigate her indicated how serious the situation was. She turned to Roarke and said, "Our time is running out," her voice tinged with worry. "If we're caught, both our lives are in danger." Roarke saw Ilara's determination and nodded to show his support. "I owe you, Ilara. I'll stand with you to end this war," he said. With these words, they began preparing a plan to not only rebel against the royal family but also bring peace back to the galaxy. Using Ilara's position in Krag society, they intended to spark a revolution together. One night, Ilara and Roarke left the cave and set out toward the Krag royal planet. Ilara had arranged a ship that would take them there through her secret communication network. The pair advanced silently under the cover of darkness and reached Venteris, a Krag city and one of the galaxy's largest military bases. The towering walls and military control towers demonstrated the city's stringent security. However, Ilara's family had received intelligence about their approach and discovered that they had secretly infiltrated the city. As soon as the pair stepped into the base, Krag soldiers began emerging from the dark alleyways. Ilara and Roarke realized they were cornered. As the soldiers armed themselves and encircled them, the two braced themselves for a fight. Ilara launched herself gracefully at the Krag soldiers. Every move was sharp and lethal. The swings of her blade broke through the enemy's defenses one by one. Roarke displayed the strength and endurance of human physiology. His fists and swift reflexes blocked the soldiers' attacks and delivered counters. Together, their contrasting fighting styles merged in harmony, taking down the enemy soldiers one by one. In the middle of the battle, one Krag soldier pulled out a laser weapon hidden behind him and aimed it at Roarke. Noticing this, Ilara swiftly threw herself in front of Roarke, deflecting the attack, and took down the enemy with a single strike. Although Ilara's action saved Roarke's life, the Krag soldiers now branded her a traitor. Ilara turned to Roarke, saying, "This is our fight. We must end it here," her eyes glinting with resolve. At that moment, more Krag soldiers surrounded the area, and a heavily armored commander stepped in. It was Ilara's uncle, General Threx. Threx watched Ilara fight alongside a human soldier with great anger and disappointment. "Ilara, how will you explain this betrayal?" he shouted, his voice echoing down the street. Ilara replied confidently, "This war has brought only death and destruction. We need a new path. Together with Roarke, we can bring Krag and humans together in peace." But Threx ignored this ideal of peace, seeing only an enemy and a traitor in Ilara and Roarke. The general donned his heavy armor and began walking toward them, signaling the soldiers behind him to attack. Ilara and Roarke clashed fiercely with Threx and his soldiers. General Threx was one of the finest Krag fighters, and his powerful attacks strained the pair's defenses. Each blow shook the ground, shattering the surrounding stones and forcing them back. Ilara and Roarke fought a brutal battle to withstand Threx's relentless attacks. Roarke made a bold move to distract Threx. Quickly circling the general, he searched for a weak point and, finding an opening, delivered a powerful punch. The hit threw Threx off balance, but he quickly recovered and attacked again. While Ilara fought the Krag soldiers by Threx's side, Roarke summoned all his strength to continue resisting the general. Finally, Ilara seized on Threx's momentary lapse of focus and struck him down with a powerful blow. As Threx lay on the ground, stunned and furious, Ilara and Roarke looked down at him. Ilara bent down toward her uncle and made one last attempt to convince him. "We can end this war, Threx. Bloodshed alone will get us nowhere. There must be a path to peace." However, Threx responded with a hateful glare. "You and this human's existence is an insult to the Krag people. We deserve not peace, but control over the galaxy," he said, and moved to strike Ilara one last time. Noticing Threx's movement, Roarke threw himself forward to protect Ilara, deflecting the attack. After thwarting Threx's assault, Ilara and Roarke quickly blended into the crowd and disappeared from sight. This confrontation showed Ilara and Roarke that they could no longer remain on enemy grounds. General Threx's ruthless pursuit made it clear that the royal family would never permit this alliance. But Ilara and Roarke would not abandon their vow to bring peace to the galaxy. This event had ignited the first sparks of a rebellion against the royal and military power they represented. Although the next steps were much more dangerous, they both felt that together, they could bring light to the shadow cast by this war. After escaping General Threx's attack, Ilara and Roarke took shelter in a hidden refuge on the Krag royal planet. Here, some loyal Krag soldiers who still supported Ilara and human allies contacted by Roarke gathered. This coalition became a living example that different species could unite. However, maintaining this peaceful alliance would not be easy. The Krag royal family had heard of Alara's betrayal and mobilized their entire army to stop her. Meanwhile, the Krag Emperor, aware of Alara and Roarke's alliance, began to incite his people against the betrayal, portraying humanity's presence in the galaxy as a threat to the Krag. Using fear to his advantage, the Emperor intended to escalate the war. Alara knew the power and manipulation abilities of her father, the Emperor, and realized that every step needed to be meticulously planned. After extensive discussions and strategic meetings at the shelter, Alara and Roarke finalized their plan to infiltrate the royal palace. Alara aimed to cut off the palace's communication network to prevent her father from commanding the vast Krag army and addressing the galactic populace, which would sow seeds of doubt and question among the people. The palace was surrounded by colossal walls and fortified with laser defenses and advanced security systems. Though breaching it seemed impossible, Alara knew the secret tunnels of the palace and the weak points in its defense systems. At midnight, Roarke and Alara approached the palace's perimeter, waiting for the guards' shift change before moving forward. As they advanced through the tunnels, they used specialized technological equipment to bypass the intense security barriers inside the palace. However, upon reaching a secured gate, an alarm sounded, and the entire palace was on high alert. The blaring alarm echoed through the corridors, and Krag soldiers rapidly converged on their location. Realizing that avoiding combat was no longer an option, Roarke and Alara readied their weapons. When the first group of Krag soldiers appeared at the end of the corridor, Roarke and Alara acted without hesitation. Roarke, with his quick reflexes and powerful punches, took down soldiers one by one. As the Krag fired their laser weapons, Roarke moved swiftly, evading bullets that sparked off the corridor walls. Alara, with graceful yet lethal strikes, disabled her opponents with her blade. Amid the intense combat, Roarke and Alara supported each other, progressing as a team. Alara's blows were strong enough to break through the Krag soldiers' rigid armor, bewildering them with each strike. Meanwhile, Roarke maintained his calm, deflecting the soldiers' attacks and driving them back with his powerful counterattacks. However, at the end of the corridor, a greater threat awaited them. General Threx, fully armed and leading his troops, stood in their path, ready to confront them with all his might. Threx had deciphered their plan and was prepared to do whatever it took to stop them. Threx glared coldly at Alara, shouting, "You will pay for your treachery, Alara. Someone like you doesn't deserve Krag blood." Then, he pointed his massive energy weapon at her. Alara and Roarke quickly dodged in separate directions to avoid Threx's fire. The general attacked relentlessly with both his weapon and the strength his armor provided, forcing Alara and Roarke onto the defensive. Threx's formidable armor and brutal strikes pushed the pair to their limits. Roarke maneuvered around Threx, attempting to distract him. Spotting an opening, he struck at a gap in Threx's armor, briefly staggering him. Threx quickly regained his balance, retaliating against Roarke as their fierce duel continued. Alara seized the opportunity, attacking Threx from behind with a powerful blow from her sword. Threx staggered back, momentarily weakened. Alara's strike had targeted the main power source of his armor. With the general now vulnerable, Roarke and Alara prepared for a coordinated final strike, ultimately bringing Threx crashing down beneath his heavy armor. Alara looked at her uncle's face, which was filled with shock and anger, and tried to reason with him one last time. "We can end this war, Threx. We won't get anywhere by spilling more blood. There has to be a way to peace." But Threx returned her gaze with a hateful stare. "Peace is the refuge of the weak," he muttered, taking his last breath. Following Threx's defeat, silence enveloped the palace corridors. Alara quickly moved toward the throne room to confront her father, the Emperor. Waiting for them on his throne, the Emperor met Alara and Roarke with a cold smile. "Did you really think you could end this war? Krags don't make peace with humans," he sneered. With unwavering determination, Alara approached her father, saying, "This hatred must end. We can unite the galaxy instead of spilling more blood." Seeing the resolve in his daughter's eyes, the Emperor paused briefly. But unwilling to lose his power and authority, he remained closed to the idea of peace. Realizing that the Emperor would never accept peace, Roarke and Alara understood they needed to take a different approach. Alara used the palace's communication system to broadcast a message to the entire galaxy, urging Krags and humans alike to unite for the galaxy's protection and reject the senseless hostility. As the galaxy listened to Alara's words, they sensed the first signs of change. Soldiers from both Krag and human factions began questioning the conflict between them, moved by Alara and Roarke's courageous message. The steps Alara and Roarke took planted the seeds of peace throughout the galaxy. A united force comprised of both Krags and humans began to form, and the animosity between the two species gave way to cooperation and mutual respect. Their struggle became legendary, leaving a lasting mark on both their people's hearts and the galaxy's future. I hope you had a good time. If you liked my story, do not forget to comment and subscribe to my channel. Goodbye, see you in the next story.